this will be good. Got a little bit of a cold, so excuse my voice. And yeah, looking forward to it. Hey, Adrian, what's up, man? Welcome, welcome.
Yes, that's perfect.
Hey, Lena's up early.
What is a crunk? Is that
Ni no
That's sick.
necesito
If you're sick,
un Krankenwagen.
Okay, how are you doing? Good to see you.
hopefully not.
Cranking, bugging.
It's a
That's
car.
ambulance in German, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Wow.
Krankenwagen.
Adrian, it's early or late for you. Which one is it? Late or
Late. It's 11 p.m.
Oh wow, 6 a.m. right?
No.
No,
Well,
no, it's
It's 8. I got
Oh,
up
eight.
at 6 so I could be here at 8. But
Gotcha.
Wow, that's.
Here, let's see anybody else.
South isn't early.
I'm amazed
Like,
right now.
it's just how early you have to get up to be here at that hour.
Right.
America, elevation.
You know what I mean?
Let me see who else I want to get in here.
May I ask, where in the world are you?
In Indonesia, Jakarta.
Marcel and Marcel, two Marcels.
Wow.
Oh, Jakarta.
Yeah, near from.
You're familiar with it.
The architect. Let me invite him here.
Wow. Very cool.
Is the camera still busted?
My sister went to Bali
Which camera?
like a year ago.
This one. Oh yeah, it's still
Bali.
busted.
Yeah,
It is still
Is that
busted.
part of
Bali.
I think it's part of
Yeah,
it.
it's a part of Indonesia. Bali.
It's working somewhat okay.
Bali. Today is not so many tourists who come because of the coronavirus from China.
Yeah. I can imagine. So what brought your sister to Bali?
Right?
Was it like just a regular vacation, we'll call your sister? What brought her to Bali? Or
yeah,
was it
just like a trip.
just a vacation? Very cool.
Yeah. When you want to visit Bali, tell me. I have 3 villas.
Hello, antidepressant.
Oh wow.
Ah. And how far
Maybe,
are you from Bali?
if I go with her. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna turn off this Jimmy
How
cam.
far are you away are you
There
from
we go.
Bali?
Sorry?
Hey, antidepressant.
No,
How
I live
how
in
far away are you?
Jakarta.
Are you very far? Or
With plane about 3 hours.
oh yes, enough that you need a plane. Okay.
All right, time for VR Seminary. All right, everyone. Feel free to hop in. Excuse me, I still got that cold lingering. I think the cold is done, but my voice is kind of just bleh. But yeah, come on in, grab a seat. Let's start our first class for Virtual Reality Seminary. And yeah, we'll take about 1 more minute and we'll go ahead and get started with class.
What? We don't just sit out there and jabber the whole time?
Yeah, that's what seminary
What
is.
am I supposed
Jabber,
to do?
jabber, jabber.
Woo! I like a lot.
Yeah.
Empower your destiny.
All right, I need to see if I can get the Jimmy cam to work here or not.
Since it's a class, I brought an apple.
Oh, thanks for the apple.
I love
Apple for you.
it. Are you?
Oh, how wonderful.
Are in other people's lives, you lift their spirits and make them happy, and that is why you are labeled antidepressant. Raspberry hop?
Let's see. Anybody else we want to invite in here?
I just asked antidepressant here. I said, "Is your name antidepressant because when you're around people, it lifts their spirits and makes them happy?" And so I was using him antidepressant, just him being there, and he says yes.
That's cool.
All right, everyone. Feel free to grab a seat. Let's go ahead and begin with our intro class to VR Seminary. And if you see anybody else online, feel free to invite them. And I just want to, I know some of you who are done with school, you're like, what? Going back to school and class and instructors and, what's that all about? Well, don't let that intimidate you. It's just a form and fashion, just to kind of give instruction and training something to anchor. So we use those terms like class and teacher and school and seminary and all those things. But this is, at the end of the day, this seminary is meant to serve you, which I think is different from a lot of my education where I was serving the education. You know what I mean? Like the tests and the grades, and you're just stressing out to try to like get the grade or stay in the class or pass the course. You know, all those things. Where really it's kind of flipped on end over end, where this is trying to empower you. That's really the idea. It's not meant to burden, stress, worry, homework. You know, it's just about development and empowerment. That's the course. And so, really, it's less of, I know this sounds weird, but it's really less of you passing. And it's really more of like me, the instructor, and our course passing. Did we succeed in empowering you and developing you and all those things? Um, or did we fail and not do that? So you'll notice that if you experience virtual reality seminary, that it's really trying to empower you. All right. And so, well, let me tell you a little bit about VR seminary, how it all got started, and I'll talk a little bit about some things. So today is an intro class. This is actually the first class for VR seminary. So just as we together as a community have planted the first church in virtual reality, we get to do another first. Today is the first seminary in VR. Now, what is a seminary? Well, I haven't done a whole lot of background on the history of seminary. Maybe Pastor Bismuth, you have more of an idea of where seminaries have come from. But ultimately, a seminary was a mechanism to train people for ministry. So when someone wanted to be a pastor or an evangelist or something like that, Bible schools formed, seminaries formed. It was you go to school to be a doctor, you go to med school, you go to school for pre-law or film school to be a cinematographer. And in the same way, in the modern era, the seminary and Bible school popped up for people that wanted to train and learn more about the Bible. And so one of the reasons VR Seminary even exists is to help people who want to advance in their ministry. So church does a great thing for us, and I think it serves us well, where we teach and pray and worship. But for those that want training, maybe I wouldn't say at a higher level, I don't know if that's the right word, but you just want to dedicate more of your time and energy into building your personal ministry, because at the end of the day, God has called you in a personal ministry. And we all have different gifts, different talents, different abilities. And we want to discover what that is. And we want to be empowered to do that ministry. And so that's where seminary comes from. And I'll also give you a little bit of some background about that. It's also just kind of a side note, like in the US, a lot of these Ivy League schools, if I'm not mistaken, particularly like Harvard and Princeton, started out as to train people to become missionaries or to train people for ministry. I mean, these are like, these schools that have been around for hundreds of years. They're Ivy League. I don't think they do that anymore. I think Princeton still has religion infused into its schooling. But yeah, anyway, so welcome. And I'm really excited to get this launched. And it's really going to be exciting to see where this goes. I mean, you think of like Harvard couldn't have imagined probably a couple hundred years ago where it is today. I can't even imagine years from now what VR seminary is going to be like. I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll just stay small, a handful of people, or will it be hundreds and thousands of people that um, get into virtual reality seminary to develop their skills? And I think it's interesting, and it's really needed for us because we want to be able to train leaders at VR Church. That's one of the things we notice is like, Pastor Lena and I were talking about, like, how do we train leaders? How do we develop them? How do we encourage people in their spiritual gifting? How do we take their Bible knowledge, to another level? And that's what seminary is for us. And so I could say to everyone, all right, go find a seminary, go, learn more about that. But in virtual reality, it's a different beast. And so it only made sense for VR Church to have some type of ministry school that serves how we minister in VR. Because let's say you went to, I don't know, such and such seminary in your town, they probably are not going to know how to do ministry in VR. just all the nuances of what's that all about. And so that's why we need something like this that connects directly to our vision at VR Church and then ministry in VR as a whole. So that's like the nuts and bolts of who we are and what we do. And let me tell you a quick story about why this even got started in my brain. VR Church, this is like maybe a year and a half ago, because this used to be Pocket Seminary. If you guys are familiar with Pocket Seminary, that's the seminary started, and this is evolving into, or Pocket Seminary is evolving into VR Seminary. But you know what, the thing I noticed is I noticed people wanting to be a pastor, or they wanted to be trained in ministry, but they didn't know how to go about doing it. Number one, or number two, if they did, it was super expensive. And one of the stories, I think I just heard too many stories of how our current systems and constructs really prevent people from like a ministry path or becoming a pastor. It's very limited in scope. Denominations have a very narrow pathway, and if you don't fit that role, or you don't fit their form, let's say you just kind of think alternatively, or you're kind of different, you don't fit, then you don't have a pathway to ministry. You'll just, good luck. We don't approve you. And there's been stories of people that have even tried that have gotten rejected. And there's actually one pastor here in the U.S. is one of the biggest churches, and he got rejected by his denomination to be ordained. And so I saw that. And then the one final story that kind of was like the nail in the coffin was a relative of mine who's learning to be a pastor. I find out he had to quit school because the ministry school that he was going to was almost $40,000 a year. $40,000. I mean, that's over $100,000, $120,000 just to learn about the Bible. Now, I want to be careful how I say this because I don't know what everyone's doing out there and how things work. But man, I don't know that Jesus would go and look and say that we need to spend over $100,000 to learn His Word to be prepared for ministry. I don't see that in the New Testament with Him and His disciples and in the Book of Acts. I'm sure there was costs that are important to cover, living, wages and paying for this training and that and all that, but I don't see in the Bible, and we've been studying the book of Acts, this limited approach to ministry. I see this early church being empowering and inviting. And yes, there were some mistakes. Like John Mark at first, he wasn't very good. He even bailed on them. There's all these different elements of things not working out. But that's not the point of batting 100. I mean, even Jesus picked 12 disciples, and one of them betrayed him. So Jesus himself didn't even bat 1,000 as far as empowering people to ministry. And so I think that's a really good example for us, is that we just need to try to get people involved and to try to make ministry training sustainable or simple or accessible, right? And I think that's really important. Anyway, so he was going to the school, $40,000 a year, and then he stopped going to the school and he stopped pursuing that ministry path or that pastoral path. And so that's something that was like really eye opening to me. And I said, you know what? We have to figure out a way, particularly today. Maybe that made sense, years ago. You needed to have a building, and you still do, by the way. I'm not knocking, universities or whatever. But what I am saying is, I think, though, the balance is way out of proportion. That now to become into ministry, you have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. You have to spend years in training, but we need to make it accessible. We need to make it what's the word I'm looking for? Accessible and um, just easy for people to access. And so I think that's a very important thing to do. So that really, then I started working on VR Seminary. I was like, man, we gotta, particularly today when technology and online courses and Facebook groups and now virtual reality. I was like, man, we have to flip the script, or at least bring some balance back. So I'm sure there's still value in going to seminary and perhaps paying a lot of money, but I think there's also a value that I think God would appreciate, where there's still accessibility to ministry and sustainability to it as well. And then I'm just going to mute you real quick, Architect. You got a little open mic there. Um, Yeah. So I got some other things to talk about, but any questions so far from what I've said? Here, I'll turn on the raise hand thing so you can open up your mic. Oh, it's not there. I guess it's not an event, right? All right, you're just going to have to speak real loud. Yeah, Wilka.
Yeah.
I can make
Why?
it. I can do it.
What? What is What are the costs for?
For this seminary or for seminaries in general?
No, I mean, why? Why? Where do you have to pay for?
Do you mean to enroll or to
Yeah.
pay for this seminary? How do you enroll? How do you
No,
enroll?
I mean, what? Why and where do you pay for when you're doing a seminary?
Like in general, or this one?
Yeah, in general.
Oh, in general. Yeah, at that cost, at 40,000. Wilka was asking why do you pay for like ministry training? That's a good question that I don't know. I don't think I know the full answer to, but I guess to pay the instructors and to pay the buildings and they're multi-million dollar budgets to maintain. So let's say you have a big seminary, 1,000 students, you need, I don't know, a couple hundred teachers and health benefits and buildings and all that. And that could easily be a multi-million dollar budget to maintain. And so then you have to charge the students, an exorbitant amount of money. And so I just think that in 2020, that's a broken system and unsustainable. Particularly, like if you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, like I don't know, that makes sense. You got to pay for your education, but I think when it comes to ministry, I think it needs to be balanced. Is that where you're asking? Did I answer your question, or did I miss it?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, but it's the way you tell it, it sounds like it's almost getting like a business.
Yeah, well, I think it has been because
Oh, okay.
I think it has become a business. Whether they intended to or not, it probably wasn't intentional, but I think it just evolved into it. And now you have to, make money and make a profit to pay for all these things. And I think technology provides another way, and it's really important to tap into that. Um, and the problem I have, and once again, I'm not knocking because I know there's good schools, good opportunities, but you really limit the opportunity to go into ministry to learn advanced training by saying you can only be a part of this if you have a lot of money, right? Um, so I don't think that's a thing. Yeah. Alina, question.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. Like with the cost of this, it's it it basically limits though a certain tier of people, if you will, that can minister. You have to have. Most people don't have $40,000. Well, I don't know about most people. A lot of people. I don't have $40,000. So basically, that just means the only pastors are all like wealthy. There's no
Mm,
mixture of people, which is really important because different people have different like each person is unique and crafted specially and they have a unique voice to reach certain people. And if you have everybody all just being with a history of wealth, you're missing a big like important you need that variety, and it
mm,
sounds like it's becoming too does that make sense? Like
mm-hmm.
Can a homeless guy enter seminary
What's that again?
and become a pastor? Can someone who's homeless
Uh,
can he get in the
oh,
seminary
finally
and get
fixed it.
pastor?
Sorry.
Um, yeah, well, he can't, right? Because he has to go through this pathway. Um, that makes it hard for him, even though the homeless are called to ministry. Like if you're homeless, you still have a destiny and a gifting. And yeah, so I think that's a good point. The See, the problem also, Alina, like, okay, so I pay a lot of money to go to medical school and I'll make a couple $100,000 a year or whatever. And then you can help. But see, to get like $100,000 ministry degree, like I've worked for several churches and you don't make good money there. I guarantee it. Like it's just unsustainable. It's not, the equivalent.
mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
Pastor Bismick, do you have any seminary thoughts about perspectives?
I think study costs in Germany are way more, not that expensive. I think even a child of a worker is able to study theology and be a pastor, a Lithuanian or a Catholic pastor. So that's a very different situation here.
Mm.
But we always hear about the high student debts you get when you study in America.
Yeah, so that's
So it's an
interesting.
America thing.
That's
I
interesting.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was an everywhere thing.
That I'm very sure about. How many,
Wow.
Tyler? How many does this? Do you have study debts after you study?
No. I
No, huh?
I don't. I know that. Yeah.
Wow.
This is what American
But I didn't
Republicans
really
call
study.
socialist Europe.
Yeah, socialist
I
Europe.
didn't really study. I didn't really study.
Okay,
It was more.
but in your country, not you especially, but in your country.
Yeah,
If you were to.
in some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone I know has school debt. Big school debt. Like it's
And
it's
huge.
yeah. Yeah,
Whoa.
massive. Um that's some good question. I had a thought I was going to ask seminary. Yeah, so maybe I'm kind of, talking about it from an American, not a problem. Maybe I'm just talking about it from an American perspective, and here it's certainly a problem. And so maybe not worldwide. That's interesting. I love that global perspective, international perspective.
No,
That's really
actually,
good.
yeah, it varies a lot. For example, in my country, yeah, like if you want to study, then you don't have to pay anything. Because I mean, even there's even public universities, so you can get a master's degree and you don't have to pay anything
Mm,
because the government pays. I mean, if you want, you can go to a private university, but you
yeah,
have the option to go to a public one as well,
that's amazing.
and so
Can
you don't
can
pay anything.
Yeah.
can I interrupt shortly because I received a message from Pastor Brock. I think you know him from VR chat. I think he is asking me right now if you could join the seminary.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't have him on my alt space. I know him on VR chat, but if
Yeah,
he
me too.
That's cool.
So
tell him.
write him, join us, join Outspace and friend Bismick.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
friends.
it's cool.
Is
He
this
actually went
so
to my
easy?
life group on Wednesday.
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
You have
Yeah.
him? You have him?
Yep.
Oh,
No, I
perfect.
don't have him in
Oh, good.
Outlaw Space. No,
No,
I
you
don't
Not
don't
have
have
him.
not
him?
in alt
Oh.
space.
No, no.
Okay.
No place.
Okay. Let me try to help here. Good. So let's go further on. I'll try to write him.
All right. Yeah, you can keep doing that. And then Alina, yeah, you got a question?
And I have just one more thing because even though the financial thing may be limited to the U.S. or certain particular countries, but another really big, huge thing to me personally is there are many people that would like to minister that physically can't because of disabilities.
Mm,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Building type structure, and that
Yeah.
opens this to people like me.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Now that I have finally fixed my mic, I'm gonna try to switch to VR. I'm
All
gonna
right.
be right back.
All right, cool. That's a good point. And I think about when Jesus, like, what would be the ultimate seminary with those 3 years of ministry training with Jesus, right? That'd be the epitome. And what was his seminary like? What was the enrollment? It was pretty much saying, "Hey, come and follow me," right? Let's like go on a journey together. And so, yeah, it's this tension between modern society and the need to pay teachers and buildings, and then also not creating an unsustainable, you know, opportunity for people to attain, religious education. So, yeah, I don't know, but well, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Did you have something, Wilco? Huh?
Yeah. One quick thing. You talked about this before. It's was in the scripture. It was taking care of elders, leaders, pastors, and all that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
When they were around traveling or whatever.
yeah.
I was isn't that like uh, isn't that like a form of compensating for their needs if it's financially if they
Yeah.
can't afford it that they have to compensate because it's written in the Bible.
Yes. So particularly those that teach you the word of God, I see where the Bible says we need to take care of those that teach. And so
Mm.
definitely at a church level, there's this element, and we haven't necessarily as a church grown to that level yet where I can pay, our teachers, but that's going to come in the future, and which I know people are uncomfortable with that idea, but it's like you said, it's integrated into the scriptures where those that teach and feed us, we need to feed them, make sure that they can eat and pay their bills and stuff like that. At a seminary level, I think that gets a little bit complicated because there's teaching there, but it's not teacher, I don't know, like pastor congregation relationship. It's a little bit different. So I haven't thought through that. I don't think I have an opinion on that, but so there is this, I suppose there's a correlation there to like a seminary teacher, but I have to think through that one a bit more. Yeah,
Well,
Lena.
you like basically this payment oh, my hand's moving weird. For our teachers and pastors and in the church, it's needed because do they can't teach us. They can't do their jobs if they also have to work 12 hours a day to put food in their families' bellies. You can't do and live in boats. So need there's a need. It's not about like making money and getting airplanes, but there's a need of financial assistance
Well, my
just
airplane.
to be able to teach. Otherwise, you have to spend all your effort surviving in the
Yeah.
water,
Okay,
all your time and effort just surviving.
that's very right. I would join Campfire right now to friend with Pastor Brooke, and then I come back with the Lithuanian
Yay!
Star
Cool,
Wars episode, huh?
cool.
Ah,
So and Bismarck already knows this, so I can just keep kind of going. And then when you get back, I'll go to the next slide. So cost for VR Seminary is free, and there's a subscription. So I know you're like, what does that mean? Basically, that means if you look on Patreon, there's a monthly subscription, and that just helps pay for development, like the time and the energy and classes and all these things. But if you can't afford that, and I couldn't afford my own seminary right now, right? So you I want people to get in there for free. Like if money is not an issue, there's a suggested monthly subscription. If that's not possible, then it doesn't matter. You just let me know. You're going to get scholarshiped. We have Tia has paid um, for people to come in as well. So we have some people that are giving as kind of like scholarship money. And so at the end of the day, VR Seminary is free. Come. I want people to get trained in ministry. Money is not an issue that we'll worry about that later, or God's going to take care of that, or all the above, right? Um, so that's just something important to say, that it shouldn't be a blocking or stumbling point for anyone. The only thing is that I really want to do with VR Seminary is kind of make it closed, not like an open Discord, because a lot of the content is on Discord, and then we'll have live classes to follow up on those things. We'll have like 3 live classes a semester. So once we do like 3 or 4 classes on Discord, we'll have a live class to go over the content. So that's kind of, and I'll talk about that workflow in just a second. But I really want people that are serious about it on the Discord. So it, you're definitely welcome to invite someone if they hear about it. It's like, oh, I want to get into that. Don't worry about the scholarship money. I'll figure that out through fundraising or a benefactor or a donor. Just let's get them in there. I guess maybe just throw it by my way, so we're just not inviting random people, because I really only want people that are serious about taking the course to be in there, and so it's not really an open um, type of thing. It is, but it's not, so to speak, if that makes sense. All right. Okay. Hey, Pastor Brock, coming to VR Seminary, my man.
Hey, what's up, man? Grateful for the invite. Thanks for having me.
Hey, welcome. This is our just a recap for you. This is our first class for the semester in virtual reality seminary, and so we planted a church in VR. And now we need a seminary, kind of like advanced training that kind of helps
Yeah,
the ministry that we have for at VR Church. And so this thing is kind of just getting started. Who knows where it's going to go? Like VR Church, couldn't imagine where it went, and so it'll be fun to see what happens with VR Seminary. So we just kind of went over the history of why, where it started from, my concern with friends that I have who wanted to be in ministry but just couldn't afford it, like $40,000 year degrees and all these elements that were really prohibiting people that I know that wanted to be in the ministry, and either through their denomination or through their schooling was just really blocked. And so I said, I think VR provides another avenue. So those things can be valuable, particularly for those that can afford it. But then there's another avenue for many people who need advanced ministry training, perhaps who are homebound, like Alina. And so that's kind of the scope of what we talked about. The curriculum is on Discord. We'll talk about that a little bit, but with live classes with those things. All right, well, let's keep going. Like I said, here's some core values, and that's important to us at VR Seminary for this intro class. And like we just said, we just spent a lot of time talking about ministry education should be affordable. No more ministry degrees costing thousands of dollars. And so, I'm not, like I said before, this is not an anti-seminary, anti-Bible college thing where you pay money. It is just kind of bringing the balance. Like I know my friends that have spent over $100,000 on their ministry degree. It just seems excessive. And so VR provides another opportunity. Ministry education should adapt in real time. Methods evolve, so should you. So basically, what that means, I had a good school. I'm not going to knock it. My Bible college, I went to a Christian university, but a lot of the content was, particularly at the ministry level, was years old. Like we were talking about things happening 40 years ago, but what was currently happening in culture was missing. So the beautiful thing about Discord and VR Seminary is that things can evolve in real time. The curriculum is just will update in seconds if it needs to. It's not going to be a book from the 80s. And I'm just kind of pulling from maybe I'm projecting from my education where I was like, all right, well, that was good in the 80s, but it's, 2000 something. So ministry education should adapt. And so that's really important. Ministry education should empower you. So structure and process can be good things, but not when they hinder their destiny. And that's what I go back to, where the cost of education, the denominational pathway to ministries, it seems to be creating more roadblocks than opportunity. So this seminary really wants to empower you. Ministry education should help you think for yourself. We talked about that in Acts 17 this past week. Our methods are not corporate or industrial, and we don't create robots. And so that's really important. Once again, maybe just projecting from my schooling, it was definitely like you have to think these things in a certain parameter. And with my denomination, same idea. But we want to be eclectic and diverse, and to develop individualized thinking. It leads to my next thought. Ministry education should be eclectic. The family of God is huge. Let's learn from everyone, man. Chuck is a good old Southern Baptist boy. I mean, good old Southern Baptist Bible Belt boy. And then we have this German charismatic pastor over here, and everything, you know, everything in between, man. And I love that. And so we're about creating an eclectic environment of beliefs, of backgrounds, and it just sharpens us. Things I learned from Chuck and from Bismick and everyone is just so beautiful. If I had just kept it, anyone who just thinks like me, man, that would just be boring. Number one, and two, there's no room for growth there. Okay, and then ministry is for everyone. This is important to me. God invites us all to participate. It doesn't matter if you have it all together or not. Your destiny is waiting. And so, like I said, maybe I'm projecting, but ministry pathways seem to be for only the super polished. Like you think of like the disciples who are kind of rough around the edges. They wouldn't be accepted into the seminaries and the Bible colleges, at least the ones that I've been kind of associated with. And so for instance, for one big example is women in ministry. That's something we 110% embrace. And so, Pastor Lena, everyone is welcome to participate. Ministry is for everyone. It's a beautiful thing. And then I love this one. Ministry is where you are. So classroom time is fun, but ministry is action. Let's get moving. So yeah, I just spent a lot of time in the classroom, and so that's great. So those are some core values that we want to kind of adhere to, and I think it's really important. And you can see I still have the Pocket Seminary logo. It's now Virtual Reality Seminary. So all right, watch this video. I think you'll get a kick out of it. Yeah. That's a good trailer for our seminary, right? So VR Seminary is technically an alpha. You think when you think of software development, like alpha being like an unfinished product, an architect maybe you have a better definition, and then beta is kind of getting there. Then gold, I think, is when it's finished. So I would consider it to be in an alpha state. The first 2 semesters are pretty much done, and then semesters 3 and 4 are being worked on. And we'll talk about that more. But that's to kind of give you an idea. Like you come in, wait a minute, should be more content. There's actually quite a bit right now, but anyways, so there's 2 things that virtual reality seminary are integrated, kind of 50% Discord, 50% live classes in VR like this. So, and we'll just need to figure out when is a good time of the week, good day that gets everyone the opportunity to be part of the VR classes. These live classes are huge. There is a grading system, but like I said earlier, this is not a burdensome stress grade type of thing. It's to help you. So 50% of that is these live classes and the discussions we have on Discord and in our live classes. And then it's so flexible. We control time and space in VR, so we can have classes anytime. So if it's just 2 of you that missed a class, man, we can just pop in whenever. It's crazy. That's like that. So um, when you go into the Discord server, you'll see start here. That's where you want to start. And that's you just kind of it's pretty much linear. You start at the top at start here, and then you just go channel by channel. And you'll learn about the core values, course descriptions. Ultimately, when VR Seminary is fully built out, you'll have a master's in destiny theology, and so you'll see the definition of destiny theology on the Discord server. And yeah, it's at your pace, at your self-paced course. And I'm also including audio because I know we all learn differently. Some of us like to read, some of us like to listen. So that'll be good. Like if you're on the go and you want to just listen to a class, you can just pop on the audio, and I'll be doing that real soon. Um, Maybe Pastor Bibbs, you can voice. You have a nicer voice than I do. Maybe you can do the voiceovers for VR Seminary. So you just kind of go down the channels. There's discussions there, and then there'll be live classes. You'll see those, and I'll announce those ahead of time. So after you do like 4 channels, there'll be like a live class, and we'll come in and I'll go over the content, and then we'll have a discussion about it. And so I think it'll be really good, really awesome. Yeah, and so this is more of the semester 1 descriptions, reading through it. About grading, there's a project at the end. Once again, simple. It's not meant to burden or stress you out. But yeah, so I love someone just posted this on Discord. I love this is one of the key things you'll see in VR Seminary is our emphasis on the 5-fold ministry: the apostle, the prophet, the evangelist, the shepherd, and then the pastor teacher, or I mean the pastor shepherd. So this is a big theme for us at VR Church and VR Seminary. So you'll notice that it's pretty much the main content of semester 1 is the 5-fold ministry. And there's a lot of great, man, I know it's my thing or our thing, but man, there's a lot of great content I just have accumulated. Pastors and articles, I've just kind of aggregated this stuff for our seminary. I think it's really, really good. But yeah. And then it's interesting. I had this is kind of a side story, kind of going off a little rabbit trail, a little side trail. I had this anime person drawn up like years ago, just because I sensed something. I don't know, it was something I was just feeling, and I just really sensed that one day. I didn't realize we would have a church that would have animes and avatars, and so I just kept that image all these years. I mean, this is like a 10-year-old image, and it just kind of like a little side fulfillment for me about virtual reality seminary and empowering our destiny. So yeah, well, um, once you complete classes 100 through 104, and you'll see what I mean when you go into Discord, we'll have a live class, and then the same thing after 105 through 111, there'll be a live class, and then 112 through 113, and then discussion about the semester project. So the content is simple. I mean, even if you did a class a week, it would just go quick. It's going to go fast, and I'd rather just have you take your time and think through it, rather than just rushing. School is definitely like, oh, I gotta get it done, but this isn't a I gotta get it done thing. This is more about um, just development. All right. Well, that brings us to the close of our introduction class for VR Seminary. Um, so, any questions or comments or thoughts about the course? One thing, while you're thinking about that, one thing I'm looking for is instructors. So if there's an aspect of ministry that you want to help me teach, I would love some, develop some instructors. You could look ahead at what the things that I'm doing on Discord, and maybe you could pick some of those. Or if you have your own, because I'm having my framework of ministry that I like to teach, but there's so much more. So I'm talking to Bismic about instructing as well, and so there'll be different classes, and maybe they'll happen at the same time. We'll come in and do some breakouts, use the classroom space and the prayer area, or the courtyard, and um, but it'll just be interesting to see how all this grows and where it goes. I think it's going to be fascinating, and I think we're going to discover, just like VR Church, that what we've sensed recently is God does not want us to replicate the church. He wants us to reimagine it. And so I imagine that's going to be the same thing with VR Seminary. We started it in a way that looks replicated, but the way that it's going to evolve is something that we can't even imagine. And so that's going to be exciting to see. All right. Any questions, comments, thoughts come to your mind? Anybody?
I'm
No?
excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm gonna go back and then I'm gonna just like follow through from the beginning again with everyone. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of
just
bruised.
because because it's been a long time and my mind is I must be not facing my sensor. But anyway, I think that like my perspective may be slightly different now, and so it'll
Mm,
be really interesting. Plus, earlier there weren't many people there, so like there wasn't a whole lot of that conversation about things. Well, not too much because there just wasn't very many
yeah,
people
we
there.
just kind of,
But
yeah,
now with more and more people, that yeah, I'm excited to start all over, so I can continue with everyone. So that's
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it'll be
Yeah.
good. There's a couple books. It used to be required reading for the course, but I got so much other content now that those two books aren't required as much. But I still have them in there. And I definitely encourage you to read them. There's an audio version of it. One is called 5Q by Alan Hirsch. He's a tough read. He's like this deep theologian. At least for me, I have a hard time reading through them. I'm like, man, when you read those sentences over and over again, that's Alan Hirsch, but it's good. And then the other one is called Church Zero by Peyton. I forget his name. I was going to say Peyton Manning. That's totally not it.
I know that.
Oh yeah, Church Zero, right? Good book too as well. Same idea as 5Q, but just at a more. He talks about like Star Wars and Matrix, which I can connect to more. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know what I mean? So those are like recommended readings. The other content will give you a full kind of like wealth of knowledge and instruction. But if you want to enhance it even further, 5Q, you'll see it 5Q and Church Zero. is really good. And then I'm working on semester 3. That'll be good. And then so that's it. Let's get a picture and a prayer.
All right.
I say. Let's do it on the stage right here. Everyone come up here on the stage. Thanks, Wilco, for the apple. You brought the teacher an apple.
I know, I noticed that. That was cute. Apple for the teacher.
All right, let me get this camera going.
We'll see him.
All right, everybody circle around me a bit, like just right around here.
It's funny,
Closer.
I'm tall in real life, so my natural tendency is to go to the back of a...
But if you
Yeah.
do everything correct, you should be as tall as you are in real life right now.
All right,
Oh.
architect gets closer. Lena, get closer. You guys close? Oh, you are. It's the camera angle, maybe.
Yeah.
Coldest, come up a bit. I don't see the person behind the Lena, whoever that is. Bismuth, go to your. You might need to switch it up. Okay.
Or do I need to move left or right?
No, you're good, Alina, right there. Bismuth or Wilco, go between architect and I think Pastor Brock. Are you on this side of me?
Yes.
Yeah, someone in between Pastor Brock and architect.
Okay.
Yeah, Wilco. Or I mean, Bismuth.
Yeah.
All right, Wilco, you're good there. Then somebody is directly behind me that I can't see.
I think about it. There we go. How about that?
Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right, nobody move. There we go. Got it. Got it. Wait, let me do one more. All right, got it.
All right.
All right, Pastor Bismuth, do you mind praying for our seminary journey?
Oh,
Yeah.
a few moments ago I thought, what if Josh Stapp would join one of our seminaries or services and make a YouTube video out of it? Whoa. Maybe you don't know him.
No, I don't know.
He's the biggest VR YouTuber, I think, right now.
Oh, yeah, I do know. Yep.
Cool. Maybe we baptize him without him knowing.
You've been baptized.
All right.
Just kidding.
Bismuth, you mind praying for us?
Oh, yeah, no, I won't mind. But I have to stand for the circulation of my blood helps me pray. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor DJ, for doing the seminary, and thank you, Jesus, for sending Pastor DJ. Pastor DJ. Thank you. And yeah, just bless us with some new thoughts, with new moments of metanoia, with new moments of conversion that will explain so much more, that we will not come out with bigger brains, but with more wisdom and some more knowledge that helps us to be better preachers and better worshippers and better leaders. So please help us to grow, and please use this, what we try to build here, for you and with you, to help us grow in your name. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Hey guys, thanks for your support. Thanks for coming. If you're not in the seminary, DM me. I'll say get you an invite link if you're interested. Once again, no pressure if you're not, but it's an opportunity. And just to kind of iterate, it's meant to serve you. It's really not meant to stress you out and like, oh my gosh, I gotta get a report done. It's nothing like that. So yeah, thanks everyone. It's good to see you.
Life group is in 1 hour.
Oh yeah.
That want to join
Where?
an hour here.
Here, Outspace. Okay. I always try to join a Rec Room live group because I cannot imagine how a Rec Room live group would look like.
I heard they had fun on Wednesday. They were playing laser tag on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian and I played where you jump out of the little trolley. It's like that game that everybody loves. You jump out and then the last man standing wins, and you like try and shoot each other. Super popular.
Which one's that one?
Yes, I know.
You jump out like
Battle Royale.
Oh, Battle Royale.
Maybe it's bad, but yeah, I think like in the game outside, like Rec Room, you jump out of an airplane and you land and you have
Yeah.
teams. Or the last survivor, but in Rec Room, it's like a trolley that you jump out of.
Yeah.
Oh wow, wow.
Yeah, that's a fun game.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's a Rec Room version of it. It's pretty cool.
All right, all right. Architect, what's good with you, buddy?
With your live group and
Hey, what's up? I'm just trying to battle with my controller right now because my left controller is dying, so I'm unable to accept friend requests or anything.
Ah, really? It does seem stuck. Is it your right hand or your left hand?
Yes, you know, do you get that? I mean, that problem that happens when you when one of your controllers' batteries dying. But
Yeah.
Not so.
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't even like just glitch. It just shuts down.
It's super annoying. So right now,
What do
I
you
can't,
use,
like,
by the way, Minnesota?
What's that?
What headset do you use?
Oh, I'm in the Rift
Maybe.
S.
I know the riff.
Gotcha.
Yay!
Yeah, Rift S is pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What are you on?
Good, that's good.
Rift S, yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Although I heard Pastor Bizzard keeps talking about the indexes being like I was blind, but now I see is what he says. So now I mean, he makes me, yeah,
With the index.
yeah, it makes me want to get
By the
one.
way, Soto, I was gonna say, so like I've got a lot of study in terms of church history. You know, you're talking about instructors. If you wanted, you know, any kind of church
Yeah.
history,
Ooh,
like,
that'd be
especially
great.
early Christian church history, you know, I'd love to give.
Ah, I'd love that. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, let me. Yeah, definitely. We'll set up a church history class.
Sounds good.
Wait, where is my? Oh, never mind.
Because I think
There we go.
I think it can be really helpful when you're trying to like interact with other kind of Christians of different denominations and outlooks to understand kind of the history of how these things branched off and what the arguments were about and so.
Yeah, because like all the ministries I've been involved in, this is so eclectic. The backgrounds are just unbelievable, right? Because the churches
Yeah.
I've been a part of, you kind of go there because you're already with that kind of tribe, you know. But we
Yeah.
represent so many tribes. But yeah, definitely start maybe jotting down a little synopsis that we could hand out
Sure.
to the students,
Okay.
and maybe a couple graphics
Okay.
we can throw up on the screen.
Sure thing.
But I'd love to, yeah, love to start working towards
Is
that.
it easier to switch out the slides in AltSpace than it is in VR chat, or do you have to like edit the world, re-upload it, and all that kind of same stuff?
No, it's easier here because I'm running it off of Google Slides, and I just get the link and put it in.
Oh, so you can run it off of Google Slides. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, video chat,
Yeah.
that is a pain.
Yeah.
Oh, is
Yeah.
that Architect there?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Gotcha. Oh, yeah, that's Google Slides. Got it. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye, Lena. Bye, Coldest. I gotta run too. See you guys.
See ya.
Adios.
Yeah.